So environmental science is a course for someone who feels passionately about the environment. We are seeing quite significant change over the world. We are asking more from the world. We're seeing changing weather patterns and loss of biodiversity. So I think if that's something that interests you, then it's a great course to come and study. Current entry requirements for environmental science A-level are an average GCSE score of 5 and a maths score of 5. So the course really involves a range of different topics. So in the first year, we start off by looking at a topic called the physical environment. With that, essentially, we're looking at like the 3 main processes. So we'll look at the lithosphere, which is like rocks and mining and the environmental impacts of mining. We'll look at the atmosphere, like what's the atmosphere composed of? How has our atmospheric conditions changed? And we look at maybe some of the policies around ozone. And then we also look at the hydrosphere, which is a posh way of talking about water, where we get our water from, how do we manage it, etc., etc. So that would be the physical environment topic. In first year, we also look at the living environment, and that primarily is about biodiversity. So we look at why are we losing biodiversity, what are the threats to biodiversity, and then to end on a positive note, we look at all some of those positive legislations that are put in place to try and manage biodiversity and make sure that we're protecting it. Then in the second year, we move on to look at energy. So this is, we look at historically where have we previously got our energy from, and then we move over to look at those greener different types of energy. What's really interesting about this topic is that even if we're looking at like a green energy, so like solar panels, we also do then look at the shifting environmental impacts. So we look at what's the impact of mining for solar panels, or we maybe look at some of the impacts of like how they might be toxic. So it's definitely like there's critical thinking involved with this green energy transition. In year 2, we also look at pollution, which is a really broad topic. So we dwell on lots of different types of pollution. So water pollution, air pollution, nitrate pollution, nutrients pollution, so all the different types of pollution, how we manage them, what are the causes, and then how could we invent new technology to try and manage that pollution better. So that's the pollution topic. In year 2, we also look at agriculture, like more traditional forms of agriculture, and then we look at modern agricultural practices, and then we start thinking about what are some of the environmental impacts of some of our current agricultural practices. So that's the agriculture topic. We also look at forestry. So again, looking at modern forestry and how is that problematic? How do we need to change forestry? And we also look at fishing. So we look at aquaculture, so fish farming. And then again, like how are stocks depleted and how can we be more sustainable within fishing? So that's another topic that we look at in year 2. And then our final topic, which we study throughout both year 1 and year 2, is research methods. So this is an environmental science, so it's a science subject, so we need to be remembering throughout that we've got to think like scientists. So this is a series of practicals. So if, for example, we were studying soil, very interesting topic, we would go out and we would collect a soil sample locally, then we would bring it back into the classroom and we might look at the soil texture and would work out the percentages of the soil texture. So essentially really research methods is a series of short kind of practicals that are kind of throughout the whole course where we write up investigations and then we analyse our technique. So there's only one board that currently offers environmental science, and that's AQA. It is 100% examination, and it is split up into 2 papers, and each paper is 3 hours long. In terms of like the types of question, there's a mixture between short answer questions and extended prose. So you'd have to write one extended prose essay in each paper, but the other questions will be between like 2 and 6 marks. So it could take you many different places. I have had students go on to look at marine biology, so they might go on to go and study marine biology, or they'll go into ecology. We also get a number of students going on to just study straight environmental science. Is actually a growing degree, and you could take that into so many different places. You could go into project management, for like environmental projects like setting up offshore wind farms. You could go and work in environmental policy for like DEFRA. Also, I think there's a growing emphasis on sustainability. So most companies now would have a sustainability officer. In terms of trips, as I said earlier, with the research methods, because we're quite lucky around here, we've also got a strong relationship with the Royal Agricultural University. So we go over there and we use their soil labs. And we can also do biodiversity studies over there. So we do local trips over to the Royal Agricultural University. And we do short lesson trips for the 3-hour lesson in class. But there's also a yearly trip to Tenerife. And that is with the geographers and the geologists. Biologists are trying to get in on it. Where you go and you look at the local geology of Tenerife, and then you look at the succession, and you look at a whole range of really interesting things in Tenerife. That's every year.